Because Ridley Scott is kind of Ray Bradbury for movies. What Bradbury was to science fiction novels, Ridley Scott is trying to do for movies. It's just... Okay, nerds, we have a lot to do and not a lot of time to do it. Housekeeping is as housekeeping is. I got nothing that I really need to push that I haven't pushed in the last few episodes, so we're just jumping right into the news. Before we do jump into that news, though, I want to remind everybody to subscribe if you haven't already, and definitely hit the thumbs up if you like what I'm trying to do here and you want more nerdy news. And first up in news, we're talking about music. All of our sections are huge today, so I just am going to be talking fast and not really is getting in deep as I usually do. So first up, we have Atreyu in music news, and this one kind of is breaking my heart a little bit. It would seem that main vocalist, primary screamer, if you will, Alex Varkatzas, I never know how to pronounce his last name, and it really drives me crazy because I freaking love the dude. But Alex is potentially not in the band anymore. We have a couple of different outlets reporting that they have sources close to the band that say Alex is out. When they published their news pieces, Alex came out and said, no, false news, in kind of a weird and ambiguous and very vague kind of way. Whenever anybody asks him pointedly, are you out of the band, he has some really weird cryptic response that doesn't say no, but also kind of doesn't say yes either. So it could go one way or the other. But because of the nature of the questioning, because everyone has asked him so pointedly, are you out of the band? And he has not said one way or the other. I hate that this is the case, but I really think he might be out of the band, and that really sucks. One of the news sources that is reporting this also said that it sounds like Brandon Saller will be the will be the one taking over all vocal duties, and then the other source said that Brandon will be filling in temporarily for all vocal duties, and they will be looking for somebody to replace Alex. But, I mean, really, who can replace Alex? That's what we've got there, though. Next, we're talking about Chris Cornell, and this is actually the Chris Cornell statue outside of the, what is the name of the museum? The Seattle Pop Culture Museum of Pop Culture. Yeah, M-Pop. The Chris Cornell statue was vandalized. It's apparently kind of vague who it was that vandalized it, but with all of the riots going on right now, I don't think that it's really that big of a question. I will be keeping you updated on this, though, as it progresses. That's all we've got there. Next, we're talking about All That Remains, our only piece of positive news for this music section today. All That Remains are working on a new record with new guitar player Jason Richardson, who replaced Oli Herbert after Oli's untimely death approximately a year and a half ago. So this will be the first record with Jason writing as part of the writing team, and it is due out sometime next spring. And then our next piece has to do with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. This is a really quick one. Probably should have put this in follow-ups, but it is what it is. Trans-Siberian Orchestra has canceled their fall tour for the year, which means there won't be any awesome Christmas metal coming to a town near you. And then our final piece is a death in the metal community. Frank Banalli, the one-time drummer for Quiet Riot, has passed from cancer. He was 68 years old, so a moment of silence for Frank. Let's get into TV streaming now, guys. So we have a bunch of follow-ups and then just a couple of actual news pieces. So first up, we have a follow-up on Gotham PD. We now know that it will, in fact, serve as a prequel to Matt Reeves' movie. Matt Reeves' movie is reportedly going to be the approximate year 2, if you will, of the Batman's career as the Batman, of Matt Reeves' version of the Batman. And then the series will take place during year 1, approximately, and we will see all of the things surrounding Batman with very likely an occasional cameo of maybe our Pets, or any of the other big actors from the show. Jeffrey Wright comes to mind. Pennyworth. We might see Alfred. There's so much possibility here. It's really awesome. No word if this is going to affect how long the show will potentially run, but it will be going to HBO Max, so very probably it will be a season, maybe 2. Next piece in follow-ups, we're talking about Titans. Season 3 is going to officially bring us the Red Hood. It was all but said in their panel for DC Fandome, they're taking an original approach, it sounds like, to the story of the Red Hood, so very interested to see what happens there. I mean, you kind of could have figured that if you watched the end of season 2, but it is what it is. Our next piece is a follow-up for Penny Dreadful. The City of Angels season has also been canceled after the first season. Penny Dreadful just can't catch a break, though the first season was kind of better, so that one was a little bit more heartbreaking than the City of Angels, but it is what it is. And then our final piece has to do with The Stand. So we now have a premiere date for the remake of The Stand over on CBS All Access, and that is December 17th. We also have a bit more of a finalized cast list, and I'm going to go over that real quick. We have Whoopi Goldberg, James Marsden, Alexander Skarsgård, Odessa Young, Greg Kinnear, Heather Graham, Amber Heard, Jovan Adepo, and Marilyn Manson, all rounding out the main cast of characters. So it is also known now that Stephen King is going to be writing the final episode of the series, and he is going to be changing the way the story ends. What does that mean? Only time will tell. Let's get into the actual news. And first off, we have the announcement that CW is doing a Powerpuff Girls series. Now, this is going to be a live-action series and is not going to be a reboot. This is going to be, in effect, a continuation. So it's going to pick up when the Powerpuff Girls are in their early to mid-20s, I believe is what it said. And it is going to be a Berlanti-verse, Berlanti production anyway. It's not going to be part of the Berlanti-verse because it's not Batman, it's not DC owned, but it is going to be Greg Berlanti at the helm, and it's going to deal with 20-something Powerpuff Girls dealing with a life of fighting crime as children and how they kind of get jaded. It just sounds really interesting. I really hope they don't muck this up. That was an M, not an F. And then our only other piece in news is The Haunting of Bly Manor. We have learned a thing or two since we last talked about this. It will be absolutely set in the 80s. And it will be released sometime this fall. It is safe to assume it's going to be sometime in October, specifically when we still don't have that date. But we did get some new promo pics to tide us over, kind of, so you can go find those over on the interwebs. That is what we have for TV streaming. Let's talk about movies. In movies, we have only one follow-up. That one follow-up is on the Snyder Cut, and we now know, because we knew for a while that the Snyder Cut was going to be a very long movie. The final runtime is over 4 hours. So, as it is being released on HBO Max, they are going to release it in 4 one-hour approximate chunks. And those 4 chunks can be watched individually, or you can set your HBO Max to play all 4 of them in sequence so that you can watch it as one giant movie. So that's pretty freaking cool. All right, now into, we have a real quick rundown of all of the trailers, the really awesome freaking nuts trailers that have been released over the weekend. This is just movie-related trailers. We have The Batman. Oh, if you haven't watched this yet, what are you doing watching me? Don't even finish this episode. Just go watch the Batman trailer. Snyder Cut trailer got dropped. We have the Suicide Squad quasi-trailer teaser behind-the-scenes thing. We have the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer. And then, honestly, the only other one I'm super excited about wasn't Fandome-related at all, and it is Raised by Wolves, because Ridley Scott is kind of Ray Bradbury for movies. What Bradbury was to science fiction novels, Ridley Scott is trying to do for movies. It's just... Oh, it's so awesome. Go watch Raised by Wolves. All right, so we're getting into the news now. First off, we have the official announce of the DC multiverse. We now 100% have confirmed the rumor that DC will be operating under the premise of a multiverse in the movie realm. So every version of every character is legitimate and could make an appearance at some point or another because, multiverse. Also, fallout from DC Fandome, we got the official announcement for Static Shock. We are getting a live action movie, presumably. It was not specified, but it sounds, from the other language used, it sounds like it is going to be a movie. It is still in the early stages of development, but it is in stages of development. So that's super freaking exciting there. That also leads us into some comic book news, which we will talk about in a little bit. Then we're moving next to Black Adam. We have not a DC Fandome announcement. This happened outside of Fandome, and that is that Hawkgirl will officially not be a part of this movie, which is kind of weird and kind of makes sense all at once because Hawk Girl, The Rock says, I'll be able to tell you some point down the road, which means once the NDA is null and void, then I'll tell you why. But basically, it's a long story, is pretty much what he said. And if you think about it, in the comic books, Hawk Girl is not a part of the Justice Society of America. We know the Justice Society is going to be in this movie. Hawk Girl is only occasionally associated with the Justice Society, so it kind of makes sense. Instead of Hawk Girl in this movie, they are replacing her with Cyclone, and that is straight from The Rock's fingertips because he was typing it. And then our next piece is the DC animated series, animated movie universe. We have the release of Superman, Man of Tomorrow. I always want to call it Son. I don't know why. Superman, Man of Tomorrow got released this past weekend. I believe it's on Friday. So if you haven't watched that, go find it, rent it digitally, whatever you got to do, watch that. And then our next release we already knew was Batman Soul of the Dragon, and then our next two releases have been made known as well. So first up is Justice Society World War II. I don't know how that's going to fit into the key. Very little is known about that so far. And then the next one is Batman Long Halloween is getting an animated movie. And not just that, but the animated movie is going to be split in half. So we'll be getting two Long Halloween movies, much like we got the Batman Returns years ago. They're splitting it in half so they can properly tell the whole story. Oh, it's going to be great. The first half of the movie is going to be released sometime early 2021, presumably after the Justice Society World War II movie. And then the second half of the Long Halloween will be released late in 2021. So that is what we've got there. And then our final piece of news also comes from DC Fandome, and it is Shazam 2. We have the official subtitle of the movie, and that is Fury of the Gods. That's right, multiple gods, and they are mad. So exactly what that means very much is up for speculation. I'm not going to do that in this episode because we only got so much time to film, so we're moving on. Now, let's get into gaming and tech, and we only have follow-ups, so like I said. So follow-ups for gaming and tech, we have the Apple Epic saga going on. Apple has tried to now bar Epic's developers from using Apple platforms, which then has upset the balance because that means the Unreal Engine cannot be used by anyone on Apple. You cannot develop with the Unreal Engine because Epic owns it, and if they can't get to the platform, then they can't give it to you, and so on and so forth. So Epic has filed another motion in court to stop this from happening because they want to make money while they're fighting Apple so they can make more money. So that's just a real quick update. Next, we're talking about DC Fandome. We got a couple of trailers in the gaming world. We have Gotham Knights that we got the trailer for, and we also have the announcement that Gotham Knights is not part of the Arkham universe. But then we also got the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League trailer, like we were anticipating, and that has been confirmed that it is part of the Arkham universe. So very confusing, different stuff going on there. We'll get in deeper as more stuff comes out about those two things. And then we have a real quick update on Mortal Kombat 11. They got a new patch, which has balanced some things for just a small handful of the characters, but also launched the new Femme Fatale skins. So yeah, that's what we got gaming and tech. Next, we're talking about comic books and books. We have two pieces. First up is Milestone Comics. Milestone Comics is the imprint that DC has, or had, I guess, that they canceled a while ago, that published Static Shock. So Static Shock is coming back, and the stable of characters that are associated with Static Shock are also coming back, which is freaking awesome. This was announced at the Fandome event. Rocket and Icon are going to be part of the first Static Shock book, and then we are going to be seeing a lot more of the Milestone comic books. And then our other piece of news is Batman rather. So we got confirmation from John Ridley and Jim Lee. John Ridley is going to be writing a new Batman story. John Ridley is the guy that gave us 12 Years a Slave. So this Batman is going to be a multiversal Batman. He's coming from a different multiverse, has something to do with Lucius Fox. So presumably he's going to be, Batwing, just as Batman, because it's not going to be Bruce Wayne, it's going to be Black Batman. I'm really interested to see what a man like John Ridley can offer to the DC canon, because that sounds freaking interesting. But that's what we got for comic books and books. Let's talk rumors. Into the rumors. We've got rumors to talk about. You like the little theme? No, you don't. You hate it. It's okay. I'm okay with that. All right. So first up, we have Batwoman. This actually should have been in the last episode. Batwoman is now reportedly casting for a character called Jacob Zaz. What that means, we don't know. Is it just a code name for Victor, or is it somebody related to Victor and they just didn't want to use Victor because it's too confusing, because Warner Brothers still doesn't have faith in their fans? Who knows? But they are reportedly casting that character. Is this going to be how they introduce Victor, because this is like Victor's cousin or something? Who knows? Next rumor is The Thing. John Carpenter is himself teasing that a Thing remake might be in the works. That being said, it's not been announced officially from anyone. I wanted to put this in news, but because John Carpenter isn't even saying that it's 100% going to happen, it's a rumor. It sounds like he's going to be involved because he's the one teasing it and because of the way he teased it. So very likely this is going to happen. As far as the likelihood for Batwoman, I don't 50-50 on that. As far as a Thing remake, John Carpenter's involvement, I'm going 70% that a Thing remake is very likely to happen. John Carpenter is the reason why I gave it so high. Next, we're talking about Witcher. Reportedly, there is. We already know that there is a prequel series in the works. But reportedly, the prequel series is looking at Jason Momoa as one of the leads for the series. Likelihood for this one, 25%. It's possible. It's even probable. Likelihood that it actually happens, though, is pretty slim, because Momoa, much like Ryan Reynolds, has a giant slate of movies ahead of him, and I don't know if he can find the time to do a whole season of a prequel show. Next, we're talking about Daredevil. There are now more rumors that Charlie Cox is going to be making his way back to the screen as Daredevil in the MCU. This time, though, we're hearing that it's going to be in the next Avengers movie and not the next Spider-Man movie, much like we heard. But then also, we're also hearing that we're going to get a revival of the series on Hulu, potentially. Again, we've talked about this. If it releases to Hulu, then Disney doesn't make all of the money. So if they potentially have a way to get it over onto Disney Plus, then they make all of the money. So it sounds likely it'll go to Hulu. It's not 100%. It's still very much rumor. As far as confirmation for this, or percentage likelihood that it's going to happen, I'm 50-50 on this one. I don't have any reason to confirm or deny. Next, we're talking, though, about Mad Max Furiosa. This rumor says that Chris Hemsworth is being eyed as the male lead for this movie. Hemsworth is not one of those actors who has a bunch of things on his plate. Actually, I think he would be great in this movie. So likelihood that this is a thing, we're looking at probably about just over 50%. I'm going to say about 55% to 60% likelihood that this is going to be a thing. Next, we're moving over to Fast and Furious. It's rumored that they're looking at Tom Holland for a role in the 10th movie, which supposedly is going to take them into space. Likelihood that Tom Holland will be in Fast and Furious, about 10%. I don't think this is a likely thing at all. I think there's a lot of legalities in the way. I think there's also a lot of stuff that Holland has on his plate that is going to get in the way. So it would be fun if it happens. A very, very slim likelihood that this is going to happen. Next, we're talking about the first of our two Ghost Rider pieces. We now have report that Johnny Depp wants to be in Ghost Rider. He does not want to play the lead character. He does want to be in it, though. He wants to play the villain, and that villain he wants to play is Bounty Hunter. Likelihood that Johnny Depp is going to be in the Ghost Rider movie. He wants it, but that's not to say it's anywhere likely it's going to happen. I'm going to give that about 15% likelihood. As far as the villain being Bounty Hunter, very, very slim chance. I'm giving that about a 5% chance that it's likely. Our other Ghost Rider piece is that Ghost Rider, the character, will make his first appearance in the MCU in the next Blade movie. And it will be a small-ish part, and he will plant the seeds for the Midnight Suns. And then in the second Blade movie he'll be a more significant part of the story, and that will lead into his movie. Very interesting to think about. This this sounds like a way Feige would lay out his kind of planting seeds and long game kind of stuff. So likelihood that this is going to be our introduction for Ghost Rider, I would say about 30%. I can't go any higher than that just because there is so much that has to happen in that Blade movie that I don't know if they're going to have the room to plant that big of a seed. So then our next piece has to do with Flashpoint. We have a rumored shortlist for the Reverse Flash in the Flashpoint movie. This is presuming that Reverse Flash is the villain because it kind of makes sense if it's the Flashpoint story. Anyway, so we have Michael Fassbender, Charlie Hunnam, Alexander Skarsgård, James Norton, and Billy Magnuson all on the short list reportedly for this. I think this short list is not accurate at all. I think they're going to go with somebody with a little bit smaller, so I'm saying about 15% likelihood that any of these names are even being considered right now. And then our next piece is the Batman. We have a rumor that it's going to be R-rated. 0% likelihood that this is going to be the case. Batman is too big of a franchise for them to put an R rating. It'll very probably be a PG-13, maybe even like a very close to R, like hard PG-13, if you will. Not R, though. 0% likelihood that that is going to be the case. And then our final rumor is a gaming rumor. We have a new data mine that is reportedly leaking that we will be seeing 8 new DLC characters for Mortal Kombat 11 in the coming future. Considering the source, considering the style of leak, I think this is an 80% chance that we will be in fact seeing 8 new DLC characters, and the way the character select screen is laid out, it totally makes sense. That is our rumor section, guys. Whew, and that is the episode. What did I miss? What should we talk about in the next one? Let me know in the comments down below. If, though, you want to go deeper in the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net. Patreon.com/generallynerdy is the place to support the channel, or, you can just hang out at the website and do the things and see all the other stuff on the YouTube and just be awesome. Thank you very much, nerds. If you're falling behind in your nerd news and you want to catch up, you can click or tap one of the 2 boxes that should be floating somewhere below my face right about now. Don't forget to subscribe and do all of the things. Hit that thumbs up, ring the bell. Thank you very much, nerds. Before we head out, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.